all you Hobbit fans, we're here. Today we're visiting a Hobbit House in Northamptonshire, of all places. This Hobbit House is amazing. It encompasses everything that a Hobbit House should be. So today we've come to visit and tour this unique home and to speak to Amanda, who is the owner and one of the amazing people behind this build.
The reason the Hobbit House came around was because my auntie passed away. She was a big part of the family, and she used to spend a lot of time in the garden along the vegetable patches and things. And when she left a little bit of money, I decided I wanted to do something special with it to commemorate her. And so it wasn't just swallowed up within the main house. It was some specific little part of my garden that could remind me of her. So a carpenter friend of mine decided, I asked him actually, can you find me something a bit more interesting than the standard gazebo type things that are on the internet. He took me to his house and he showed me a structure that he built on his garden, which was made out of fence posts, roped together, a bit more African hut-like, but it did have a grass roof. I asked Rob, could we do something with wood from the local estate, you know, wood that we don't have to buy, we can just reuse. If you're building with stuff from nature, you can't plan it. The carpenter saying, how do you want this? How? I said, it's just as it is. The wood will tell you how it should be built. It was one of the carpenter's favourite projects because of that reason, because he would go and put doors in houses, fit kitchens, all the standard geometrical stuff that he had to do, measuring, and he said, with this it's just great. We look at a piece of wood and say, where can we use that?
And the fact that none of the walls are kind of straight either.
Oh,
they're
nothing.
all just
I love it.
all just
It was impossible because
Yeah.
these big 6 uprights, he went to the local wood yard and he went to the pile that had been discarded because they were too wonky to make anything out of.
Okay, so they use that instead of just plain old straight timber.
Yeah, nothing in there is straight, so it was an absolute nightmare to
Work out
construct. It was like a big jigsaw puzzle. So basically it started as 6 uprights. It looked like tree henge, which started all the neighbours talking. They're like, what are they doing in there? And then the roof struts went on, so when you went inside and you looked up above and you saw those were the next thing to go on, and then afterwards he started to clad it, and we tried to be really rustic with the floor as well. It's just rough hewn concrete because we looked, should we put some tiles down? I thought, no, it's not rustic, it's not natural.
Was there a point where like you came out one morning and you saw it and you went like, wow, that's kind of it, that's...
Yeah, every day I came
every
out.
Day.
Every day I just looked at it and thought, this is amazing, because there was nothing, there was no plans, we didn't draw a plan. Rob said, give me an idea, what is it you're looking for? So I just said something woodland, something quirky, something hobbity. That was his remit. And he's like, okay. And we googled a few hobbit houses and we decided that, you know, we couldn't build anything underground, it's got to be above ground. So we'll just stick to the woodland theme, sort of fairies, elves, hobbits, gremlins, I don't know. And we'll go from there. I just wanted everything to be quite eco-friendly and
yeah, I mean, it really looks like it's just kind of...
It is, it's
been
just...
sprung up. It's like the base of a giant tree.
Odds and sods. We very carefully built that little hut behind so that when you stand to the front, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah, that's good.
So when you come into the front walkway, you can't see the toilet.
So I had husband and children standing there with poles. I said, no, to the left of it, I can still see the pole.
There is a certain spontaneity and excitement when you don't actually have a solid plan rather than like architectural designs. There are some things where you do need them, but having the complete freedom to go, anything can happen and anything can change.
Everything that was in here we had kicking around the house, not being used. In the garage, the trunk that the bedding's stored in had tools in it. It's a beautiful thing, I think. And I just said, well, is anybody using all the stuff that's in this trunk? No. So we recycled everything, that all got donated to places, and then the trunk came up here. So we used mostly what we had. We inherited, again, recycle, reuse. A friend was getting rid of that, and I said, fine, we'll have it in the Hobbit House. The idea is to paint it a bit, but it comes out into a Super King bed, so people are far more comfortable. There's a mattress underneath, it pulls out. So everything is designed with space in mind, because you haven't got much space.
Everything looks like that it should be here, like it looks like it belongs, so it just works.
And we didn't even buy special hinges for the doors, we just used what we had in the garage, so I mean they don't really match the other ironmongery, but Does anything have to match?
No.
No.
It really doesn't matter. Well, we do our best with storage. It's a very small space. But it just proves you don't need much. When people come, I say don't bring too much because there's not an awful lot of storage space. They bring a small suitcase, they can pop it under the bed. But it just makes people realise how little they do need. I've started downsizing the main house now because I think, what's all that there for? I've only got to dust it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need it.
We've actually scheduled
A declutter.
a declutter.
Well, that's very fashionable at the moment, decluttering. I hate throwing things away as well, and I encourage people when they stay here to recycle everything, to compost everything. It upsets me to go to other people's houses and see them just popping all the plastic in the bin and not recycling. We're only 3 miles from Daventry and only half a mile from a busy main road.
So,
but you can create a little bit of tranquility. And it's how you place things and the way you face things and what you're trying to achieve, really. You can achieve anything you want. You've just got to...
You just got to put your mind to it and figure out the problems that come up with it.
So it's nice to have a little place in my garden where I can socialise, or where the children can socialise, or we invite friends round, sit around the fire pit, put the lights on, make pizza together. It's a real social space. But it can also be a very solitary place. You know, we have people arrive and they just say, right, where are the walks? We're going to do this. Can you recommend a pub? And so we go through everything. There's a guest manual which just says what's around. And people just go in, they have a little rest, they fall asleep. And then they don't leave for a couple of days. They said, we didn't walk, we didn't visit a shop, we just ate the snacks we brought with us, we just didn't want to leave. Time is precious and people fill every minute of every day, and we don't stop often enough. We just don't stop and observe or listen to the birds. And people come and say, gosh, you've got loads of birds here. Probably where they come from, they've got loads of birds there. They just don't stop and listen to those birds. But here there's less to distract, less, they're away from their home environment, they don't have their jobs to do. So they take time to notice the beautiful colours of the butterflies, the dragonflies, the noise of the frogs, you know, the birds, everything.
how long have you had this?
It's about 8 years now, 8 or 9 years. So it's sat unglazed for a year. And then they put the glass in, and for the last 7 or 8 years there's not even been a single crack, so it's really solid foundations. It's not going anywhere. It's got about 1.5 tons of soil on the roof. It just keeps it bedded in.
So is that that is glass?
Yeah, it's safety glass.
Safety glass.
So if it was to move, it'll just crack, but it won't shatter.
So what's the glass cut is exactly for the shape?
But the carpenter had to take templates and take it to the local glass shop. I don't know where that was, the glass makers, and they cut each one to size, and then he battened them in. The lighting in here is limited because we have a lot of daylight. And when it gets dark, this is enough. This is enough to read by. You don't need big strip lights.
It's amazing how much light Christmas lights, twinkle lights actually give as well.
The sky seems really big here. I know it sounds daft, but it just, because we're in the hollow, I don't know, but it just feels, you can feel the arc. And you don't want any artificial light, really. And lots of the things that are in there now have evolved from people coming to stay, and they've added a little bit. They've gone out and bought something specifically, or drawn something, or bought something with them. And I go in to clean, and I find little fairies, or little tiny things in there. Some of them are a bit odd, but
that's what
it makes it eclectic.
It makes it more quirky.
It does, I like quirky. But they're all recycled. We found everything car boot sales. We didn't go out and buy anything brand new, or it was things that people were throwing away, and we said, we'll have that. That would be great for the Hobbit House. There's a tiny little pot-bellied stove in there, which is sufficient to keep it warm, and then we have got some electricity in there now, which we didn't used to have. You'll notice next to the stove is a little Salvador Dali melting clock. The fire's actually melted the melting clock, which is really ironic. That's how warm it is in there when it gets going. My favourite time is to sit in there when there's snow outside. There are massive icicles that hang off the side. It's just, it's beautiful.
A lot of people get worried about, having fire, because they're really not used to having fire nowadays in their home.
No, up in the centre there, it's actually open. There's a good 2-inch gap, so anything, gases, warmth does actually rise upwards and out. It's not completely windproof anyway. There is a draft. There's a natural draft that comes through, but with the firelight, you don't really notice it. We do have a carbon monoxide alarm, just in case, because the fire has the flue that takes most of the smoke up and out. It just keeps it safe in here. But also the flue itself heats up and it just adds to the warmth, so it creates warmth at different levels. You wouldn't find a flue like that in a showroom.
No.
Yeah, it's that had to evolve, and the brackets that hold it steady had to be made because nothing was standard width or length.
Yeah. What kind of insulation? I see the insulation on beds.
It's earth wall, so it's kind of like a fiberglass.
Yeah.
But it's just made over with all natural products. I think it's 100% natural. Yeah. And we have to keep replacing it, funnily enough, because the birds come and take it for their nests. So we end up suddenly, it's like, oh, there's a hole. And you see tiny little bits of earth wall all around the garden. It's where the birds have pinched a little bit and it's dropped from their beak. Yeah. So we do have to keep replacing that. It's the only thing that has to keep being replaced.
But that's how you know it's natural. How much did this project cost, really, like the whole thing?
Well, I started with a budget of £7,000 to £8,000. That paid for the main build. It was really mostly people's labour time.
Yeah.
The materials, next to nothing. But we've spent a little bit here and there when we added the toilet and other things like that.
Just around 10,000.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Which, if you consider, you could probably live in here quite easily all the year round.
Yeah. We have quite a few people that just said we'd love to live. We could live in there. They come to stay and they said, "Gosh, you could live like that."
Yeah,
no, you really could. And I said, "Oh yeah."
Do you have plans to expand or to build anything else, or like what's the future? Is it going to just remain as this, or are you planning to build something else?
I would love to build another one. So I'd like to just do something completely different. I think next time I'd like a tree house, actually in the trees rather than one made of trees.
This was the Hobbit House here in Northamptonshire. It is an amazing place to come and stay and relax, and the links down below, so please go and find them and come here to visit. And it turns out you don't have to travel all the way to New Zealand to visit the Hobbit House. Go to our website for our new merch, join us on Patreon for exclusive discounts and content, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon so you never miss a video. As we're hurtling towards our own van conversion, we're going to be visiting more and more unique tiny spaces like this. Please subscribe if you want to see more of these. We don't want you to miss it.